with Arcidiacono. 3 seconds at midcourt.
Jenkins
gives it to Jenkins for the championship.
Hello and welcome back to the Analytixx Sports Pod. I am Emil Asaf here with Spencer Grant, Ethan Love, Brendan O'Donnell. This is brought to you by Sportscaster, the best site, the best app in the entire world. And it is a very exciting time. It is about to be March, which means college basketball is absolutely ramping up. And March Madness, this is what sports fans dream of predicting, dream of living, dream of watching on their televisions. So we have to get right into it, talking about a very unique year that this has been, where it seems like the freshman class and these freshman superstars throughout the country have really stuck out as some of the most powerful and some of the most skilled players in the entire country. So we'll start with you guys. Which one of these freshmen you guys think can lead their team to a deep run here in March as it approaches?
Well, Emil, I think the player that I'm most intrigued by with how his season has gone so far is the power forward for North Carolina, Mr. Caleb Wilson. Obviously, one of the many projected players to be a top 5, certainly top 10 pick. He actually suffered a fractured hand in a close win over Duke earlier this month, but has made it very clear that his season is not over yet. And this puts the Tar Heels in a pretty tough spot to finish the season strong without him, with teams like Louisville, Clemson, and Duke still on the menu. But if he can come back, expect some fireworks in March in what would be one of the biggest comeback stories in college basketball. That's who I'm most excited to see.
Yeah, that's one of those things
March.
with Wilson. It seems like North Carolina might slide down a little bit. They might be a lower seed come March, but if he's able to get plugged in right in that tournament, they could be dangerous. Guys, anybody else we're looking at right now?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kingston Flemings from Houston. He's could already be in that top 5 pick range, but I think with a good March and just what it could mean to Houston, a team that has been there seemingly every year, if he can finally be the one to lead them over the hump and win a national championship, I mean, come on, that could catapult him to top 3 status easily. And they even said at Houston they can't keep spending NIL like this right now.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's a now or never type of situation for them.
Yeah, 100%. It seems like that window might be shutting, and I'm glad you say that because that's actually my guy as well. Houston and Flemings. He doesn't have some of the numbers in terms of volume that some of these other freshmen have. He's only a 16.6 point per game scorer, but what's been crazy to me has been his efficiency, shooting almost a 50-40-84 split, leading the team with 1.7 steals per game. And he's played all 26 games. I know there's some of these other freshmen like Peterson and now Wilson with the injury who there's been questions about their availability. So to me, if, like you said, Ethan, in this window where it seems like Houston is running out of time, if he's able to be the guy that pushes Houston past the Final Four where they seem to struggle and even to a national championship, he might end up being above the guys like Cam Boozer and, Darryn Peterson is mentioned in the NBA draft.
And speaking of Cameron Boozer, that's going to be my guy. He's already a top 3 prospect, but I'm looking at the question more like, what can he do that other Duke players failed to do? We had Zion, Paolo, Cooper Flagg, Jason Tatum. None of them won a championship at Duke. With more stacked rosters, this is probably one of Duke's weaker rosters where Boozer has been carrying the load of this team for a lot of the season. If he can take this team pretty far into the Final Four or win the whole championship, which the rest of the Duke players couldn't do, then he's going to cement himself as a Duke legend. He's already a top 3 prospect. That's a given going to the NBA draft, but it's more what he can do to cement his history in March Madness that I think is fascinating.
Yeah, that's kind of what turns me a little bit away from Boozer because we know he's going to be a superstar at the NBA level. But you mentioned some of the guys like, Jason Tatum not being able to get the job done. Cooper Flagg now dropping almost 50 points in the NBA, and he still fell short in the Final Four to Houston last season. I'm just not personally convinced that Duke is going to get over the hump, and this is going to be the freshman that pushes their team all the way home whenever Duke has been loaded with talent. But definitely a guy that we're going to keep an eye on among all these star freshmen. We'll also Give a shout out to Darius Acuff. He just dropped 49 points against Alabama, double overtime loss, but another star freshman to keep our eyes on. And, that takes me a little bit more to the other thing that is the intriguing factor of March Madness, and those are the Cinderella stories, right? Every season we see, a future accountant, future banker go ahead and drop 40 points on some of the
Golkey,
craziest. Yeah,
Golkey,
Golkey among
Doug
those guys.
Eater.
Yeah,
Bracket
all those
buster.
guys. Come on, the bracket busters always happen. And we actually picked who we think are going to be our bracket busters. That won't be on here. That is going to be on the Sportscaster app, on Hot Take. Make sure you guys go check it out on the app, on the website, and go ahead and add your hot take. That way you can brag about getting that Cinderella right months before the action. Right. So now, what's coming up next in college basketball is actually the conference tournaments. Just a few conference games left. And we have to talk about each one of these conferences and which one do we think is actually the strongest and will have the most competitive tournament right before the action eventually gets to March Madness. What do you guys think about that?
Dude, I feel like the Big Ten kind of feels like the obvious answer this year. Their conference standings are ridiculously competitive. They've got 4 teams inside the top 10. But I'm going with the Big 12, who also quietly has 4 teams in the top 10 with Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, and Arizona. And much like its football counterparts during football season, this
Yeah.
tournament will be must-see chaos, especially with all 16 teams playing and duking it out for some March Madness slots. We most likely know how this will end with those 4 teams that I mentioned, but I predict that at least one tournament upset will send an unlikely team to the main bracket. TCU, I'm looking at you. Got to show the Horned Frogs some love. They've had some
Okay.
really nice
Love.
performances against some, you're wearing my UNT stuff. Don't get it twisted, but got to show the Horned Frogs some love for my
They almost
boys
beat
over at
Michigan.
TCU. They almost beat Michigan, and they some of the better teams that they've played this year, they've really made them sweat. So they're my pick to maybe make some noise here in the conference tournament and get a berth in March Madness.
Yeah, dude, you talk about that Michigan game early in the season. Michigan is the number one team in the country right now. They're absolutely rolling. Also had some close games on the road against BYU. I believe it was at home against Houston, all single digit losses, but also some big time wins from the Horned Frogs. Iowa State, while they were ranked number 5, and then Florida earlier in the season, that's ruling in the SEC. I'm going to agree with Spencer 100%, though. It is the Big 12, and it's not just because of the guys at the bottom, it's because of the guys at the top as well. Arizona was just 23-0 not too long ago. But the Big 12 is able to hand these guys back-to-back losses when it seems like they're hitting their stride like nobody else, leaving Miami of Ohio as the only undefeated team left in college basketball. That might be my Cinderella there. We won't get into it too much. But after Arizona was knocked off, Iowa State was able to beat Kansas by 20 points after they beat Arizona, right? Ultimately, this Big 12 has 5 teams in the top 13 while also having some of those bottom teams that are able to make noise like TCU. So it's clear this is the best basketball conference, I would even say, in the world. Put them up against the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. They might be better than them.
I hope Brendan has a different answer because I'm also locking in the Big 12. And
Yeah.
I'm going to make it different from what you guys said. Baylor won a national championship in 2021. They are third to last in the standings right now, and they had a guy that was in the NBA G League on their roster. That is how deep this conference is, guys. I don't know how you can argue about the Big 12. I mean, I feel like the Big 10, you both have the really dominant teams with Michigan and Arizona there. The SEC is competitive. I feel like you can definitely make an argument for any 3 of them, but just because of how deep the Big 12 is top to bottom, like I feel like Baylor could beat an Arizona on any given Tuesday or Saturday game. It's just it's the sheer competition top to bottom that you get with the Big 12 that I don't feel like you get anywhere else.
Yeah, you talk about
Yeah.
Baylor, but also, Kansas State. It wasn't too long ago they were making a deep March Madness run with Marquise Noel, and it was just good vibes. And now you have their coach saying that their guys don't deserve to put on the jersey. they have double-digit conference losses. That is just the nature of this conference. So, Brendan, I hope you're the tiebreaker here, or we're going to go a full sweep with the Big 12.
I'm going to swap it up then. I'm going to say the Big Ten. We've got Michigan at 1, and of course they're going to be the favorite in their own conference, probably the favorite for March Madness if they continue on the streak they've been on right now. But after Michigan, there's 6 teams that are between 19 to 22 wins. So it's anybody's game in the conference to really battle it out before we get to the larger bracket and see who's going to get the higher seeds, who's going to get an opportunity to push themselves to be a 2, 3, 4 seed in March and hopefully can make a further run into the bracket that they're really going for, because I think Michigan's probably going to win it in the end, but this is going to really help stature on where they're going to be in March Madness and where they're going to be ranked.
Yeah, we'll give a quick shout out to the SEC as well. Like I mentioned earlier, Arkansas, Alabama going into double overtime. Very, very high scoring conference. Those are teams that have 7 losses on the season. You have defending national champion Florida. I mean, there's talent everywhere. We can all argue about our own conferences, but I think ultimately what matters is who wins this entire thing. Brendan, you already are giving us a little peek at Michigan. So can you elaborate a little bit more about your super early pick and why you are rolling with Michigan right now?
So while Michigan is the favorite, and I think they will be the favorite, I am actually going to ride with Duke. And I didn't want to spoil it earlier. I'm going to stick with Duke in this. And it's more so for the reason of Duke hasn't been able to win it with the stacked teams in the past. And it's almost never the best or the most stacked rosters that win it all. You always hear about them getting bounced, and that's what makes the headlines. I'm just thinking this can finally be the team that gets the team chemistry, which is the most important part, to make it deep and win it all. And Cameron Boozer, a playmaker, great assist, can get everybody rolling, everybody into the games, and I think Duke can win it all this year.
Let me ask you a quick question. Do you feel like there has been a drop-off since Coach K's retirement, or do you feel like this is still the blue blood Duke that can get all the way to a national championship?
I think it's still the blue blood Duke, but it was definitely a culture change and a shock that you have to rebuild from, and now they have to reprove it. You had your legendary coach, you had some amazing runs, but they haven't won it since 2015, and that was a long time for Duke, for a blue blood. And so I'm hoping to see them get back into it. And I think Cameron Boozer can help lead this team there.
Absolutely. Spencer, I know you're itching to either agree or disagree.
I was going to say one more thing. I was just going to say they have 2 losses, and one of them was to Texas Tech, and they just lost their star player. And so now one of the teams that they struggled against is not out of the tournament. They'll still be in the tournament, but out of playing for the championship.
Yeah, that's an absolute shame with Toppin going out with the ACL injury. The Big 12 takes a hit, but I have a feeling we have some Big 12 truthers still here that are going to pick their national champion.
I'm just curious to see if one of y'all is going to ride with TCU. Are you that delusional?
Absolutely not. We're not that delusional.
No, Brendan, I really like what you're saying about Duke, but I'm going to ride with the Big Ten blue blood Michigan Wolverines. But I will say their next game versus Duke, in my opinion, is likely a Final Four preview. But when you look at Michigan's notable wins, they've got wins against Auburn, USC, Gonzaga, all ranked teams by at least 30 points. And then they have top 10 wins against Michigan State, Nebraska, and most recently, much to my dismay, an absolute dismantling of a top 10 Purdue team that has shown that they can go at home or on the road and beat good teams. They go into Mackey Arena, and the final score was 90-81. It was not that close. It felt like Purdue was down 20 the whole game. And I say this as a Purdue fan. It's tough to watch a team almost look like it looked like a college versus an NBA team as far as the speed and the aggression that Michigan was playing with. Purdue really had no answer. And so with that being the most recent sample, it really stuck out to me. And their only title in 1989, this season marks the first time since 1992 to 93 season where the team has multiple double-digit winning streaks. They're currently 25-1. And they've also, one more thing to note is that they've also been one of the healthiest teams this year, with half their roster having played significant minutes in all 26 games so far. So I don't hate the Duke pick, But I'm telling you, that Final Four matchup, this preview of the Final Four matchup that I think is coming is going to be must-see
Cinema.
TV. Cinema.
Absolute cinema.
Grab
I
your
just want to
popcorn.
say it's Wednesday right now. These clips are probably going to be coming out on Friday, and by Saturday night, one of us might look really stupid. Could be either one. If it's a blowout, either way, we're
Even
gonna
if-
remember
I'll
even
own
if
this
it.
game was played yesterday.
Even if
Yeah.
Michigan loses that game, I don't think it changes anything. I feel like Duke and John Shire, they got to prove it. They haven't proved it, and they need to go do that. And they didn't do it with Cooper Flag last year, so I don't know. But I'm gonna ride with Spencer. I got Michigan too. When you look at March Madness, statistics are extremely important when you're trying to narrow down who might be that championship winner. Michigan is 10-0 in quad one games. 10-0. Their only loss is by 5 points to Wisconsin. I mean, you have an off night. It happens in college basketball. But is really that even an off night? I don't know. And they're number one in Ken Pom, which is very important when you're trying to narrow down that champion. So even though I might not want to pick Michigan right now, I feel like I have to, and it'd be silly not to otherwise.
Yeah, the Ken Palm is very relevant. It feels like that is ultimately what narrows it down for a lot of people. But this year, I don't think the Ken Palm decides it. I think it is two things. I think it is defense, and I think it is coaching experience. So that's why I'm actually the Big 12 truther that's going to come back
Is it gonna
to
be
Houston winning it
Houston?
all.
Boom.
Absolutely. Just because this is the number one defensive team in college basketball when it comes to points per game allowed, only 61.6 points, and also opponent field goals made, only 20.5. So you're telling me teams can only get 20 buckets on this Houston defense in 40 minutes of play. And it's not just that, it's Kelvin Sampson. I mean, he has proven it with Houston that he's always going to put together the most fundamentally sound and complete team. The guy is 322 to 87 at the University of Houston. It seems like last year they finally broke through and were able to get past the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, which they had gotten stuck at the previous 3 years. Obviously went all the way to the national championship. Heartbreak, not getting the shot off right there at the buzzer that would have tied the game. But this team, the mix of the experience and the youth that they have with Fleming, the freshman star, like we mentioned, but also guys like Sharp who can redeem himself from that national championship last year in USAN as seniors. It just feels different than the team led by Shed, for example, that had him get injured during the tournament. And next, Houston had absolutely nowhere to go offensively. So to me, it is just the most complete Houston team that we've seen in years. But at the same time, they don't have the high expectations like they have in previous years, being a 1 seed, being the title favorite, and instead it's Michigan and Duke that we're looking at. So that's 100% who I'm rolling with.
I like the Houston pick, and I'm just looking at their schedule. They've had every loss has been really close. They have the close loss out of conference against Tennessee earlier this year, the loss to Texas Tech, who has taken a significant hit, and then the close loss to Iowa State. All of these have been by 1 or 2 possessions. Their next 2 games against Arizona at home and at Kansas, 2 top 10 conference matchups. I'm very, very interested to see how they come out. Fleming and the rest of their guys come out and answer that call, see if they can really step up at the right time this season. So I don't hate the Houston pick. I want the Big 12. I'd rather the Big 12 than the Big 10.
Me too.
We want it. We love it. But now the only thing we can do is keep watching the regular season, keep watching the conference tournaments. As we mentioned, there's going to be a ton of content before March Madness actually starts and during March Madness on all sportscaster socials and on YouTube. So make sure y'all go follow, subscribe. This is the Analytixx Sports Pod. We break down sports, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you.